So, in the last two classes, we have been hearing about Narada's visit to Dwaraka. And we heard how Narada visited 16,100 palaces of Krishna. And the amazing thing which stupefied even Narada himself was that Krishna was doing something different in each of the 16,000 palaces. It was not like the expansions of a yogi who can expand, but all those expansions have to do the same exact thing. No, the expansions of Krishna were different. Narada himself is such a mystic yogi, and he knows this art of expansion. But not like Krishna. No, that is not possible. And we also heard that in the different palaces, there were different seasons being exhibited. So this episode has taught us that Krishna is achintya, inconceivable. Krishna has achintya Shakti. That is what makes Krishna God. Achintya Shakti. Inconceivable, innumerable potencies. As the Upanishad says, Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. Nobody can count the different energies and potencies of Krishna, but they are unlimited and they are all powerful and thus achintya, inconceivable. So we're picking up because now we're going to get a glimpse of a day in the life of Krishna in Dwaraka. I must first of all thank my spiritual master, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, for giving us this gift of Krishna book. And I want to offer my obeisances to all my Krishna book students. You are so nice to come week after week and attend this class. And I want to bless you all more and more, especially in this month of Kartik. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this episode of a day in the life of Krishna in Dwaraka is entitled So Hum. From the Vedic mantras we learn that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has nothing that he is forced to do. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. But if the Supreme Lord has nothing to do, then how can we speak of the activities of the Supreme Lord? From the previous chapter, it is quite clear that no one can act the way Lord Krishna does. We should clearly note this fact. The activities of the Lord should be followed, but they cannot be imitated. For example, Krishna's ideal life as a householder can be followed. But if one wants to imitate Krishna by expanding into many forms, well, that is simply not possible. So we should always remember that, therefore, that Lord Krishna, although playing the part of a human being, simultaneously maintains the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is a very important statement Prabhupada just made. I want to repeat that. We should always remember, therefore, that Lord Krishna, although playing the part of a human being, simultaneously maintains the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we can follow Lord Krishna's dealings with his wives as an ordinary human being, but Krishna's dealings with more than 16,000 wives at one time simply cannot be imitated. The conclusion is that to become ideal householders, we should follow in the footsteps of Lord Krishna as Krishna displayed his daily activities. But we cannot imitate Krishna at any stage of our life. Krishna used to lie down with his 16,000 wives, but Krishna would also rise from bed very early in the morning, 3 hours before sunrise. By nature's arrangement, the crowing of the cocks warns of the Brahma Muhurta hour. There is no need of alarm clocks. As soon as the cocks crow early in the morning, it is to be understood that it is the time to rise from bed. I have personal experience of this myself. Many years ago, I stayed at the ISKCON temple in Tucson, Arizona. That temple there has like a little mini farm, like a mini zoo. So they had peacocks, and where I was staying, my cabin was right next to where the peacocks are. And sure enough, just as Prabhupada is mentioning here, they had peacocks and they had chickens, and you would hear them crowing just as Prabhupada remarks here. So I was always on time for Mangal Arti. Hearing that sound, Krishna would get up from bed. But Krishna's rising early was not very much to the liking of his wives. The wives of Krishna were so much attached to Krishna that they would lie in bed embracing Krishna. And as soon as the cocks crowed, Krishna's wives would be very sorry and would immediately condemn the crowing. In the garden within the compound of each palace, there were parijata flowers. We remember that the parijata is not an artificial flower. Krishna brought the parijata trees from heaven and implanted them in all his palaces. That was done when Krishna killed the Bauma Asura demon, Naraka Asura. And Krishna took Satyabhama with him on the back of Garuda. And when Krishna returned various items that Naraka Asura had stolen from the demigods, just before leaving Indra's planet, Satyabhama reminded Krishna that he had previously promised her a parijata flower because Rukmini had a parijata flower. So there was some jealousy on the part of Satyabhama. So Krishna, being the expert husband, he said to Satyabhama, "Why are you asking for one flower? I'll bring you a whole tree so you'll have a flower every day." Then Indra and the demigods got angry with Krishna and fought with Krishna because they did not like the fact that Krishna was taking one of the heavenly parijata trees. But of course, Krishna is Ajita, unconquerable, and so Indra had to let Krishna go. He was forced, and so the parijata tree was placed in Satyabhama's palace. Early in the morning, a mild breeze would carry the aroma of the parijata flower, and Krishna would smell it just after rising from bed. Due to this aroma, the honeybees would begin their humming vibration, and birds also would begin sweetly chirping their sounds. Altogether, it would sound like the singing of professional chanters engaged in offering prayers to Krishna. Although Srimati Rukmini Devi, the first queen of Lord Krishna, knew that Brahma Muhurta is the most auspicious time in the entire day, Rukmini would feel disgusted at the appearance of Brahma Muhurta because Rukmini was not very happy to have Krishna leave her side in bed. The reaction of Queen Vaidarbhi, Rukmini Devi, also shows the attitude of all the other 16,107 queens. But despite Rukmini Devi's disgust, Lord Krishna would immediately get up from bed exactly on the appearance of Brahma Muhurta. An ideal householder should learn from the behavior of Lord Krishna how to rise early in the morning, however comfortably one may be lying in bed, embraced by his wife. After rising from bed, Lord Krishna would wash his mouth, hands, and feet, and he would immediately sit down and meditate on himself. But this does not mean, however, that we should also sit down and meditate on ourselves. No, 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 no. We have to meditate on Krishna, Radha Krishna. That is real meditation. In Krishna's case, Krishna is Krishna himself. Therefore, Krishna was teaching us that Brahma Muhurta should be utilized for meditation on Radha Krishna. By such meditation, Krishna would feel very much satisfied. And similarly, we will also feel transcendentally pleased and satisfied if we utilize the Brahma Muhurta period to meditate on Radha and Krishna. However, we can think how Sri Rukmini Devi and Krishna acted as ideal householders in order to teach the whole of human society to rise early in the morning and immediately engage in Krishna consciousness. Now, this next sentence by Prabhupada is of utmost importance. Please pay attention. There is no difference between meditating on the eternal forms of Radha and Krishna and chanting the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that is the point Prabhupada is emphasizing. I am also emphasizing. Real meditation on Radha and Krishna is achieved by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Now, as for Krishna's meditation, Krishna had no alternative but to meditate on himself. After all, the object of meditation is the absolute truth, either as Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. But Krishna himself is all three. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. Krishna is the localized Paramatma. The Supersoul is Krishna's plenary, full, partial expansion. And the all-pervading Brahman effulgence is only the rays of Krishna's transcendental body. So Krishna had no recourse but to meditate on himself. Therefore, Krishna is always one, and for Krishna there is no differentiation. That is the difference between an ordinary living being and Krishna. For an ordinary living being, there are many distinctions. An ordinary living being is different from his or her body, and he or she is different from other species of living entities. This concept is taught in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna begins his transcendental instructions to Arjuna. A human being is different from other human beings, and a human being is different from the animals. Even in one's own body, there are different bodily limbs. We have our hands, our legs, and our hands and legs are different. The hand cannot act like the leg, nor can the leg act like the hand. The ears can hear, and the eyes cannot. And the eyes can see, but the ears cannot. All these differences are technically called Swajatiya Vijatiya. The bodily limitation whereby one part of the body cannot act as another part is totally absent from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because there is no difference between Krishna's body and Krishna himself. That is what we mean by saying Krishna is absolute. Krishna is completely spiritual, and therefore there is no difference between Krishna's body and Krishna's soul. Krishna is his body because Krishna is the original soul. Similarly, Krishna is not different from his millions of incarnations and plenary or full expansions. Baladev is the first expansion of Krishna, as well as being Krishna's elder brother. And from Baladev expands the Chaturvyuha, Sankarshana, Vasudeva, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And from Sankarshan, there is an expansion of Narayan. And from Narayan, there is a second quadruple expansion, the second Chaturvyuha, also named Sankarshan, Vasudeva, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. Similarly, there are innumerable other expansions of Krishna, but all of them are one. Krishna has many incarnations, such as Nrsimhadev, Varahadev, Matsyadev, Kurmadev, because Krishna appeared as half man, half lion, as a boar, as a fish, and as a tortoise. But there is no difference between Krishna's original two-handed form, like that of a human being, and these incarnations of gigantic animal forms. Also, there is no difference between the action of one part of Krishna's body and that of another. Krishna's hands can act as his legs. Krishna's eyes can act as his ears. And Krishna's nose can act as any another part of his body. Krishna's smelling, eating, and hearing are all the same. So this is how Krishna accepts the bhoga that we offer him. Krishna hears the prayers of the devotee who offers the food. So by Krishna hearing the prayers, Krishna is eating. Or if Krishna just looks, if Krishna glances at the offering the devotee made, that's as good as Krishna actually eating. If Krishna just smells it. We limited living entities have to use a particular part of the body for a particular purpose. But there is no such distinction for Krishna. Therefore, in the Brahma Samhita, it is said, Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti. Krishna can perform the activities of one limb with any other limb. So, by analytical study of Krishna and his person, it is concluded that Krishna is the complete whole. When Krishna meditates, therefore, Krishna meditates on himself. At the same time, so-called self-meditation by ordinary men, designated in Sanskrit as soham, is simply an imitation of Krishna. Krishna may meditate on himself because Krishna is the complete whole. But we cannot imitate Krishna and meditate on ourselves. Why? Because our body is a designation superimposed upon ourself, the soul. Again, this was taught in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But Krishna's body is not a designation. Krishna's body is also Krishna. So there is no existence of anything foreign in Krishna. Wherever there is in Krishna is also Krishna. Krishna is therefore the supreme, indestructible, complete existence. Krishna is the supreme truth. Krishna's existence is not relative existence like our existence. Everything else but Krishna is relative truth. But Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. Krishna does not depend on anything but himself for his existence. However, our existence is relative. For example, only when there is the light of the sun, the moon, or electricity are we able to see. Our seeing, therefore, is relative. And the light of the sun and moon and the electricity are also relative. They are illuminating only because we see them by such. But at the same time, dependence and relativity do not exist in Krishna. Krishna's activities are not dependent on anyone else's appreciation, nor does Krishna depend on anyone else's help. Krishna is beyond the existence of limited time and space. And because Krishna is transcendental to both time and space, Krishna cannot be covered by the illusion of Maya. Maya's activities are limited. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya pointed out that the philosophy that Krishna can be limited by time or space, or the philosophy that Krishna, when he descends, becomes covered by a material body, thus covered by illusion, Lord Chaitanya says these kinds of philosophy are the greatest blasphemy. The greatest, there's no greater blasphemy. In the Vedic literature, we find that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has multi-potencies. Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Suryate. Since all such potencies are emanation from Krishna, there is no difference between Krishna and his potencies. Certain philosophers, however, say that when Krishna comes, Krishna accepts a material body. But even if we were to accept that when Krishna comes to the material world, Krishna accepts a material body, it should be concluded also that because the material energy is not different from Krishna, that so-called material body does not act materially. We are reminded in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, therefore, when Krishna pointed out to Arjuna, Ajopi son of Yayatma, Bhutanam Ishwaropi son, Prakriting swam adishtaya, Sambhavami atma mayaya. When Krishna appears, he appears by his own internal, eternal, spiritual potency, Atma Maya. When we appear in this material world, we appear covered by Krishna's external, inferior, material potency. Krishna is thus called the Supreme Brahman, because Krishna is the cause of creation, the cause of maintenance, and the cause of dissolution. Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva are only different expansions of the material qualities, Brahma taking charge of the mode of passion, Lord Shiva taking charge of the mode of darkness, and Lord Vishnu taking charge of the mode of goodness. These material qualities and material modes of nature have the ability to act upon the conditioned souls. But for Krishna, there is no such action and reaction, because these qualities are all simultaneously one with and different from Krishna. Krishna himself is simply Sachid Ananda Vigraha, the eternal form of bliss and knowledge. And because of Krishna's inconceivable greatness, Krishna is called the Supreme Brahman. Therefore, Krishna's meditation, either on Brahman or Paramatma or Bhagavan, is really meditation on himself only, and not anything else beyond himself, because there is nothing beyond Krishna. Thus, this meditation cannot be imitated by ordinary living entities. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.